The last thing I remember from my previous life was the cold sting of the needle sliding into my vein in that sterile white hospital room. The nurse's face painted with fake sympathy, while my husband Ethan Sullivan stood there signing the commitment papers without a flicker of guilt. It wasn't treatment for any illness. It was calculated murder, slow and legal, because I had finally uncovered his long affair with my cousin Sophia and realized the little boy I'd poured my heart into raising for 8 years was theirs, not mine. Ethan's voice flat and merciless. "Did you really think I loved you? Ava, I married you because your father, the mayor, could pull strings to get me into Harvard Law. Now you're just an obstacle." I died choking on silent screams of rage and betrayal, my body paralyzed as the poison spread. Then everything went black. Then suddenly, impossibly, there was light again. I jolted awake in my childhood bedroom, sunlight pouring through familiar lace curtains, my hands smooth and young, no scars from years of hidden pain. I rushed to the mirror and saw 18-year-old Ava Thompson staring back. The summer of 2005, just weeks before the SAT results that would change everything, or had changed everything in my first life. A slow, icy smile crept across my lips, Ava whispering to my reflection, "Whoever or whatever sent me back, thank you. This time, no one steals my future." I threw on clothes and grabbed the lunchbox I'd packed out of lingering old habit, the kind I'd carried daily in my past life to the community restoration fields where city volunteers worked, especially for Ethan, the golden boy who'd charmed me into sacrificing everything for his dreams. The air outside was heavy with summer humidity as I walked to the fields. There he was, Ethan Sullivan, tall and charismatic, shirt clinging with sweat as he joked with the others, his eyes already gleaming with ambition. He saw me approaching and flashed that devastating smirk. "Ethan, Ava, sweetheart, you brought lunch again. Can't stay away from your future husband, huh?" The other volunteers snickered. In my old life, I'd have blushed and handed it over eagerly. This time, I looked past him until I spotted Ryan Carter quiet, powerfully built, laboring harder than anyone without seeking attention. In my previous life, Ethan had destroyed Ryan's chances out of pure jealousy, sabotaging a man who deserved every success. I walked straight up to Ryan and extended the box. "Ava, this is for you. Ryan, you've earned it more than anyone here." Silence fell over the field. Ryan paused, wiping sweat from his brow, genuine surprise in his eyes. "Ryan, you didn't have to do that. Ava," Ethan's laugh cracked like a whip. "Ethan, what game are you playing? Everyone knows that lunch was meant for me." Ava turning slowly, voice steady and cold. "Not this time, Ethan. You can find your own meals from now on." Whispers rippled through the group. Ethan stepped closer, dropping his voice to a threatening murmur. "Ethan, don't make a fool of yourself in front of everyone. They all know you're obsessed with me. Your dad practically forced me to date you just to secure that recommendation letter." The old fury surged, but I locked it down. "Ava, we'll see who looks foolish soon enough." I turned and left, feeling his stare drilling into my back as the wind caught my hair. Back home, alone in my room, I whispered fiercely, "Ava, karma is patient, but this time I'm helping it along." That night, the memories crashed over me relentlessly, every painful detail of the life I'd lost replaying in vivid flashes. I saw the proposal again. Ethan on one knee in the crowded town square, diamond rings sparkling under fireworks, the whole community cheering while my father beamed because this promising young man was supposedly perfect for me. I remembered giving up my own college dreams to stay home supporting him, working endless shifts while he networked in Boston, raising our son with love he never deserved. Then the shattering Discovery secret texts glowing on his phone at night, hotel charges on statements, Sophia's cloying perfume lingering on his collars. The day I confronted them, Sophia hurling the paternity results at me with triumphant venom, Sophia smirking cruelly. "He never loved you, cousin. He used you from day one. And this boy, Ethan, and I made him long before you ever played mommy." Ethan stood silent. No denial, just cold calculation as he later declared me mentally unstable to his influential friends and had me committed. My father died rushing to expose the truth, struck by a car in what police called an accident, but left Ethan richer by millions in insurance. Back in the Second Chance 2005, I sat at my small desk, burning midnight oil over borrowed set books. Ryan had handed them over without hesitation when I'd asked. Ryan concerned but respectful. "It's cutting it close to prep now. Are you sure, Ava?" "I've never been more sure. This is for me." Meanwhile, Ethan paraded through town like royalty, boasting to shopkeepers and neighbors about Harvard already having his name engraved, dropping hints about my father's helpful influence. At Sunday family dinner, Sophia sat opposite me batting lashes at Ethan while pretending sisterly affection. "Sophia, Ethan's brilliance is wasted on our little town. Harvard will be so lucky. We're all so proud." "Right, Ava." My father nodded warmly. "Father, he's exactly what you need, darling, driven, connected." I tightened my grip on the silverware. "Ava, actually, I'm registering for the SAT too. Shooting for Harvard myself." The table erupted in laughter. Ethan nearly sprayed his drink. "Ethan. Harvard? Come on, Ava, be realistic. Your talent is supporting someone who can actually succeed." Sophia fake sympathy dripping. "Don't set yourself up for disappointment." "Sweetie." I held Ethan's gaze until he winked slyly at Sophia when backs were turned. Later, from the shadows of the hallway, I overheard their hushed plotting on the porch. "Ethan, she's developing dangerous ideas. We have to accelerate the plan, get me locked into Harvard, then quietly cut her loose. You and the baby can join me in the city." Sophia, "What about her father's pull, Ethan? I'll squeeze every last favor before dropping them." Rage shook my hands, but fear no longer controlled me, only purpose. The next morning, I quietly warned Ryan and the other genuine volunteers about impending S8 policy shifts that would impact their eligibility, knowledge carried from my doomed future. "Ryan, this information isn't public yet. How could you possibly know, Ava? Call it strong intuition. Just trust me and study like your future depends on it, because it does." He searched my face, then nodded seriously. "Ryan, I owe you one. Ava." Weeks blurred into intense preparation for me, while Ethan's arrogance swelled. Young women fawned over the future big-shot lawyer, slipping him gifts and cash to curry favor. Sophia hovered closer, already envisioning herself as his sophisticated wife. Yet I buried myself in books, accepting Ryan's occasional tutoring sessions where his patience and quiet strength revealed the extraordinary man beneath. One dusk behind the community hall, Ethan cornered me aggressively. Ethan tight grip on my arm. "Enough of this college fantasy. You're embarrassing me. Drop the books and remember your place beside me, not competing." Ava wrenching free. "Or you'll do what arranged my treatment 2 decades early." Confusion flashed across his face. "Ethan, what are you rambling about, Ava? Nothing you'd understand yet. Just know I'm no longer anyone's doormat." I strode away with pounding heart, the roots of calculated revenge digging deeper into fertile ground. The weeks that followed were a blur of relentless study sessions under the dim glow of my desk lamp, pages turning until my eyes burned and my fingers cramped around pencils. Every formula and vocabulary word a brick in the fortress I was building around my new future. Ryan became my quiet anchor, showing up after long days in the fields to explain calculus concepts with patient clarity. His deep voice steady as he leaned over the table, the faint scent of earth and sweat somehow comforting instead of overwhelming. There were moments when our hands brushed while reaching for the same book and electricity sparked. But I pulled back every time, the ghosts of betrayal still too fresh. Ryan never pushed, only watched me with those thoughtful eyes that seemed to see straight through my armor. "Ryan, you're carrying something heavy, Ava. You don't have to face it alone." Ava voice barely above a whisper. "I have to. If I lean on anyone now, I might break again." The town buzzed with gossip about my sudden obsession with college prep, most of it dripping with condescension. At the annual summer fair, Ethan decided to make a public spectacle. He climbed onto the makeshift stage during the talent portion, microphone in hand, charming smile dialed to maximum. Ethan, I'd like to dedicate this moment to my girlfriend Ava, who's been confused lately. She's chasing dreams that don't suit her, running after other guys just to make me jealous. But I know she'll come to her senses soon. Laughter rippled through the crowd, heads turning to find me near the cotton candy stand. Heat flooded my face, not from embarrassment, but pure rage. I pushed through the onlookers until I stood directly in front of the stage. Ava loud enough for everyone. Confused. The only confused person here is you, Ethan, thinking you can keep lying to everyone's face. The music scratched to a halt. Ethan's smile faltered. Ethan, sweetheart, don't make a scene. Everyone knows how much you need me. I stepped closer, voice cutting like glass. Ava. Need you, like I needed you to steal ideas from Ryan's old essays last year and pass them off as your own. Or like I needed you to brag about Harvard when you haven't even earned the scores yet. Gasps spread like wildfire. Ryan stood frozen nearby, surprise turning to realization as he remembered lending Ethan notes months ago. Ethan recovered quickly, laughing it off. Ethan, jealousy isn't pretty. Ava, you're spiraling. That night, he cornered me behind the community hall, grip bruising on my wrist, eyes wild for the first time. Ethan, whatever game you're playing, stop it. You're ruining everything we've built. Ava yanking free. There was never a we. There was only you using me. For a split second, something almost like genuine remorse flickered across his face, and he softened his tone. Ethan, I do care about you. I messed up. Okay, let me fix this. We can still have the future we planned. My heart stuttered. The old Ava whispering that maybe love could be salvaged, maybe people change. But then I remembered the hospital room, the needle, his cold signature on my death warrant, Ava. The only future you're getting is the one you earn without stepping on anyone else. I walked away, leaving him in the shadows. Later, alone in my room, I discovered the first solid proof on his forgotten phone text threads, with Sophia dating back months. Explicit plans to secure my father's influence before discarding me once Harvard was locked in. My finger hovered over delete, temptation surging to destroy the evidence and force him to live with doubt. But I stopped myself. Ava to the empty room. Am I becoming him, willing to twist truth just to win? Instead, I backed everything up to a hidden drive. Revenge would be clean, undeniable, and legal, no poison. No shortcuts that eroded my soul. The morning the SAT results posted online felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, wind roaring in my ears as the entire town gathered around the library computers and printed lists taped to the bulletin board outside City Hall. Ethan arrived like a celebrity, surrounded by admirers, chest puffed out as he elbowed his way to the front. Ethan loudly, "Told you all top scores, Harvard bound." Cheers started prematurely until the librarian cleared her throat and pointed higher on the list. Librarian, national valedictorian, Ava Thompson, provincial runner-up, Ryan Carter. Dead silence. Then an explosion of noise. Ethan stared at the paper as if it had personally insulted him, face draining of color. Ethan snatching my printout, impossible. She cheated, she must have used her father's connections. He tore the acceptance letter in half, pieces fluttering to the ground like confetti at a funeral. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, some nodding because old habits of favoring the charismatic golden boy died hard. That's when federal education officials arrived unannounced in sleek black SUVs, here originally to present awards to top scorers, but now drawn into the brewing scandal by Ethan's public accusations. Lead official. Allegations of tampering demand immediate verification. We require all testing materials and surveillance footage. Ethan smirked, confidence returning. Ethan to me. Low. Beg for mercy now, and maybe I'll drop the charges. But as sealed envelopes were opened and scores projected on the library wall, the truth crushed him. My perfect 1600 glowed in bold, Ryan's near-perfect beside it, Ethan's mediocre 1180 barely qualifying for community college. The officials turned cold. Lead official. Mr. Sullivan, not only did you underperform dramatically, but records show prior attempts to access restricted testing information. Girls Ethan had sweet-talked into lending him money for supposed application fees stepped forward one by one, tearful parents in tow, receipts in hand. Former admirer. He promised we'd be together once he made it big in the city. More accusations snowballed plagiarized practice essays traced back to Ryan's shared notes, forged recommendation letters. Ethan dropped to his knees in the town square dust. Ethan. Ava. Please, help me fix this. I can't lose everything. Ava voice carrying, so everyone heard, you already lost it the moment you decided other people's futures were stepping stones. That evening at the emergency town council meeting, I presented the backed-up texts and bank transfers showing Ethan and Sophia's coordinated plan to exploit my family. Sophia tried to flee but was stopped at the door, her fake tears evaporating under scrutiny. My father, face ashen as lies unraveled, finally saw the truth. Father, I almost pushed you into marriage with this monster. The council stripped Ethan of all community privileges, banned him from scholarship considerations, and forwarded evidence to state authorities for fraud investigation. Ryan found me later on the porch swing, moonlight silvering his features. Ryan, you didn't just win, Ava, you exposed him completely. Ava, it doesn't feel like winning yet. Part of me wanted to destroy him more. Permanently. Ryan, but you didn't. That's why you're nothing like him. As sirens wailed in the distance, taking Ethan for questioning, I received an anonymous call, his voice cracked and desperate from the holding cell. Ethan. They're saying years in prison. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. I think I really did love you. I listened to his pleading for 10 silent seconds, then ended the call without a word. The first blow had landed exactly where it hurt most his pride, his future, his illusion of control. But somewhere in the dark, I knew Sophia and whatever allies Ethan still had were already plotting the counterattack. Harvard welcomed me like a battlefield I was finally ready to conquer, the ivy-covered halls echoing with ambition while I carried the weight of 2 lifetimes on my shoulders. Ryan walked beside me through orientation, his steady presence a quiet reminder that not all men destroy what they touch. Yet I kept a careful distance, terrified that happiness might slip away if I grasped it too soon. We threw ourselves into classes, me in constitutional law and public policy, him in sustainable architecture late nights in the library, turning into soft conversations about dreams untainted by betrayal. Ryan pushing a coffee toward me at 2 a.m. You're going to change things, Ava. I see it every time you argue in seminar. Ava smiling tiredly. I'm just getting started. Back home, the scandal exploded across local papers, headlines screaming, small-town golden boy exposed as fraud. Ethan's tear-streaked mugshot beside glowing articles about my national valedictorian status. Sophia tried to spin herself as the innocent victim, giving tearful interviews about how I had stolen her future. But the evidence I quietly fed to investigative reporters. Bank records of money she funneled to Ethan, hotel receipts. Her own incriminating texts dismantled the lies piece by piece. Public opinion shifted hard, comment sections filled with women sharing stories of similar manipulation. My name becoming a reluctant symbol of speaking out. I hated the spotlight at first, ducking cameras on campus, but then realized silence had killed me once before. Sophomore year, I founded the Second Chance Foundation, a scholarship fund for students from underserved towns whose opportunities had been blocked by privilege or corruption. The launch gala drew national attention, donors lining up once they saw the airtight vetting process I designed. No nepotism, no backroom deals. At the podium, I spoke without notes. Ava, too many futures are traded like currency by people who believe talent is something you inherit or buy. I know because I almost became collateral damage. This fund exists so no one else has to choose between dignity and ambition. The applause thundered, but backstage I nearly collapsed from the adrenaline crash. Ryan caught me before my knees buckled. "Ryan, you just gave hundreds of kids the life you fought for." Yet victory carried hidden costs. Hate mail flooded my inbox, anonymous threats calling me vindictive, homewrecker, warning that girls like me never win in the end. Sophia escalated, attempting to seduce Ryan at a Harvard alumni mixer in Boston, draping herself over him in a calculated red dress while photographers circled. Ryan voice like steel, "Get your hands off me. I'm not Ethan, and Ava isn't someone you can break." The photos hit tabloids anyway. Love triangle at elite gala, twisting the narrative until I looked like the jealous aggressor keeping two lovers apart. I almost fired back with every damning file I still held, including medical records proving Ethan knew about his hereditary heart condition years earlier, yet hid it to maintain his invincible image for recruiters. One night I sat alone in my dorm with the documents open, finger hovering over send to a major outlet. Ava whispering to the screen, "One leak and he's finished forever uninsurable, unhirable, pitied instead of feared." Tears came hot and sudden. If I released them, an innocent woman, Ethan's mother, already fragile after losing her husband young, would watch her only son branded defective before the world. I closed the laptop. "Ava, I'm not becoming the monster. Justice doesn't need cruelty to win." Instead, I channeled the rage into testimony before a state education reform committee, exposing systemic loopholes that allowed influence peddling in admissions. The resulting legislation closed those gaps nationwide, carrying my name in fine print as a key witness. Ethan, out on bail awaiting fraud trial, watched coverage from a dingy apartment and reportedly smashed his television. Sophia's final desperate move came at my graduation, crashing the ceremony in a white dress, screaming from the audience that I had destroyed her unborn child's future. Security dragged her away as she sobbed theatrically. But the cameras caught everything. That night, Ryan found me on the Charles River bank, staring at black water. Ryan. "She's unraveling because she knows the world sees her clearly now, Ava." And Ethan, Ryan, facing years if convicted. His own choices. Ava, not yours. I leaned against him for the first time without pulling away. "Ava. I thought revenge would feel cleaner. Instead, it just hurts less than before." 10 years slipped by in a rhythm of hard-won peace. My law firm specializing in anti-corruption cases, while Ryan's architecture practice redesigned blighted urban zones into thriving communities. Our parallel missions intertwining until marriage felt inevitable rather than risky. We wed quietly on the same town square where Ethan once proposed under fireworks, now strung with simple white lights, my father walking me down the aisle with tears he no longer hid. Father, voice thick, "I almost failed you once, never again." Ryan's vows were short and steady. "Ryan, I don't promise perfection. I promise presence every fight, every victory, every ordinary day." We built a life in Boston, but kept roots in our small town, returning often so our daughter could know the fields where her parents learned what mattered. The Second Chance Foundation grew into a national force, thousands of graduates sending postcards and emails that kept the old wounds from fully reopening. Karma, patient as ever, finished its work without my hand. Ethan served 4 years for fraud, emerging hollow-eyed and addicted to painkillers after emergency heart surgery he could barely afford. Tabloids caught him panhandling near South Station one winter, mumbling about stolen futures to indifferent passers-by. His mother passed quietly. He missed the funeral because parole restrictions kept him confined. Sophia married a wealthy older politician for security, bore him 2 children, then watched the marriage implode when her past surfaced during his Senate campaign. Last reports placed her alone in a modest apartment, estranged from the kids she once weaponized. One December evening in 2025, my assistant forwarded a hospital transfer request. "Ethan Sullivan, terminal heart failure, asking to see Ava Thompson one final time." Ryan drove me through snow-slick streets, silent support in the passenger seat. At the bedside, Ethan looked decades older than his 40 years. Machines beeping slow surrender. Ethan's voice rasping. I told myself for years you framed me. But I knew. I knew what I did. The affair, the insurance, the hospital, all of it. Tears tracked into his gray stubble. Ethan. I don't deserve forgiveness. Just wanted you to hear I'm sorry too late. But real. I stood in the doorway, hand on the frame, feeling nothing like triumph, only the dull ache of lives wasted. Ava. I heard you, but forgiveness isn't mine to give anymore. I gave it to myself the day I chose to live instead of hate. I turned and left without looking back. Ryan's arm steady around my shoulders as we stepped into falling snow. Months later, we vacationed on the coast, our daughter building sandcastles while Ryan sketched pavilion designs in the margins of her storybook. I watched them laughing against the sunset and felt something settle deep inside, light, unburdened, permanent. Ava to the horizon. Second chances aren't miracles. They're choices. Somewhere far away, Ethan took his final breath alone, regrets his only companions. Sophia stared at old photographs in silence, and I walked hand in hand with the man who never asked me to diminish myself, toward whatever ordinary, extraordinary days waited ahead. The story wasn't perfectly tied with bows. Some scars remain. Some questions linger about what force granted my return. But the ending belonged to me now, written in laughter echoing over waves, in foundations that lift others up, in love that arrived only after I no longer needed it to survive.